Before I start this video this evening, I want to give my condolences to all the people who lost loved ones 20 years ago on this day. To all those families, to the parents, to the children, whoever it might be, my condolences to all of you. What a tragedy, and we could say a lot, but we're not going to say it here today. But anyways, without further ado, I want to get started today. A couple articles I was reading earlier I want to share with all of you. This first one really stuck out. Treasury Department declares IRS will monitor transactions of all U.S. accounts over $600. This is being proposed right now. We talk about banks. Is it safe to keep all your money in a bank? Absolutely not. And now when I read something like this, something that's being proposed right now, it makes me even more weary of putting money in a bank. Treasury Department announced Thursday an invasive new initiative tasking the federal government to audit virtually all financial transactions of Americans with bank accounts holding at least $600. I mean, this is unbelievable. If you have more than $600 in your bank account, you will be monitored by the IRS. So, I mean, it is unbelievable. We're being watched at all times. You go through an intersection, there's cameras everywhere. You're driving down the freeway, there's cameras everywhere. Now, if you have over $600 in your bank account, you're going to be watched. Financial institutions would report data on financial accounts in an information return. The annual return will report gross inflows and outflows with a breakdown for physical cash. They want to know how much physical cash you're putting in or taking out of your bank account, and transfers to and from another account with the same owner of that account. So again, do you think banks are safe? We hear about bail-ins, we hear about bailouts. Now they're going to get very invasive here and weaponizing the IRS to watch you if you have over $600 in a bank account. Very, very interesting. Article today by Brandon Smith. This was on Birch Gold Group. The U.S. economy is a disaster. I think most of us at this point realize that this economy is melting down. It is a disaster. Since 2008, according to this article, America and most other nations have been surviving on pure monetary deferment. Not a single problem unmasked in 2008 has been dealt with. That is 100% truth. All we did was paper over the problems. We put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. Nothing got fixed from 2008. We continue to kick the can now. Here we are in 2021, and the problems are enormous. They've magnified in size, and things are so dangerous now because when these bubbles burst, people have no idea. It's going to make their heads spin. It's going to rip their faces off when these bubbles pop. They're going to have no idea what to do or how to get out of this mess. All the destructive factors were delayed by money printing rather than being fixed. We put off the inevitable, and the inevitable is getting closer every day, ladies and gentlemen. We have been writing post-dated checks to cover the last check. This only works as long as your creditor is willing to cooperate. What happens when our creditors no longer cooperate? All this monetary trickery is going to end, and when it does, there will be a fiscal reckoning beyond anything the world has ever seen. The federal government is winding down on boosted unemployment checks as we speak right now, and this is going to create more problems in this disastrous economy. This is going to accelerate the inevitable. Again, the federal government winding down these boosted unemployment checks. People are either going to have no money or they're going to be forced to go back to service sector jobs as we see inflation, stagflation taking place. It's a recipe for disaster. Many people refuse to go back to work. This will put even more small businesses out of business, especially if the government comes back with sending out more checks. So At some point down the road here, they're going to send benefits back out, more stimulus checks. People decide, hey, I'm not going back to work. Anybody on the fence says, hey, I'll just wait for another check. This is going to really hurt small business, small and medium business, because right now, they cannot get people to come back to work. And the reason is because the government, the system, was paying more for people to stay at home to play Xbox and watch Netflix than to go work, manufacture something, produce something, innovate something, just be productive. And people now have this mentality. This was such a disaster for this country because they were lazy before, but they're even more lazy now because they've been sitting at home for over a year getting paid, and now they don't want to get back up and go to work. Certainly not for less money than they were making. Corporate outlets like Walmart, these companies, these corporations are going to be able to pay more for holiday labor, for holiday help, whereas a small business is not going to be able to compete. Right now, I'm seeing Walmart paying over $16 an hour for people to come work for the holiday. Most small businesses are not going to be able to compete with that. So this is going to be more pressure on small, medium businesses as the big boys, corporate America, will shell out a couple extra dollars and people will go work there. Stagflation is another problem, and it is absolutely undeniable. We are beginning to witness stagflation. The health crisis cash everyone got is now beginning to dry up. Wow, the price of everything is going up. And as people go back to work, their wages might have went up a little bit, but those wages are being eaten alive by inflation. So wages are really not keeping up. In fact, they're being eaten alive by inflation. So you may think you're making more, but you're making less, because every time you go to the gas pump, every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go to Walmart, every time you go and shop for a product, you're going to be paying more, because those containers that are sitting off the West Coast here 2 hours away are lining up. And we have a supply chain breakdown at this point, and supplies, products just sitting at those terminals right now. Evictions will ramp up around Christmas, according to this article, and they will peak somewhere in 2022. I agree with that. Now, what is this going to do to Christmas? I think this Christmas, at this point, Christmas cannot be saved. Stagflation, unemployment, evictions, massive inflation. I think this is going to be one of the worst holiday seasons financially that we have seen in a very, very long time. More insanity on the way, ladies and gentlemen, so be very, very prepared. This may be a good time to take some of this monopoly money that we call US dollar bills and start buying essentials, start buying supplies, start buying assets. Maybe a good time to buy a little gold, maybe a little bit of silver. I cannot stress the importance. The two most undervalued assets on planet Earth are gold and silver, in my opinion. And I think that if you have a little bit of monopoly money laying around, maybe you buy yourself a little bit of this, maybe you buy a little bit of gold. People continue to ask me my recommendations, a safe place to buy gold and silver or any precious metal. SD Bullion, I have a link down below. Check that link out, SD Bullion. I've been using them for over 2 years. Many of you referred SD Bullion to me. That's why I use them, and they've been fantastic. I refer SD Bullion to my friends, to my family members, and many of my friends use them, family members use them, and I've never had a bad experience with them. Great company, SD Bullion. Check the link out down below. And again, to the trolls out there who get very offended that I have a link on my channel and that I'm recommending where you buy gold and silver, I don't care if you buy it. I don't care if you don't buy it. I don't care where you buy it from. But if you do buy it, make sure you're buying it from somebody reputable. And there's scam artists out there. There's bad companies out there. So buy from somebody that has a good track record. Real money can't be printed or inflated away. Real money doesn't disappear when the lights go out, because the lights always go out eventually. And ladies and gentlemen, this is real money. This is what you must have. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to save you during an economic collapse. It very well may have very good purchasing power during a collapse, but this stuff shines after the collapse. Real money is going to be sought after the economic collapse, whether it's land, whether it's a house, whether it's a ranch, whether it's a business, what have you. I think that people are going to be in search of real money, that when they want to sell something, they're going to want real money, not monopoly money. So look, this can be a great benefit during an economic collapse. History has taught us this many times, but this stuff really shines after a collapse, when everything's on sale. When everything's on sale, you have real money. What do you think is going to happen as prices have been depressed? They've hit rock bottom, and this stuff has gone up. So imagine the purchasing power you're going to have if you have real money. Another article today: things get out of control when the public starts to expect high inflation. 23% of all dollars were created in 2020 alone. This is a massive bellwether here, and this is an alarming number, and this is telling you and I that this inflation is not going away. People believe all of this is due to the health crisis, and that this inflation is all due to the health crisis, and that things are going to get better once this health crisis settles down. Well, here's a newsflash. Americans are going to realize that things are not going to settle down. They're going to realize that prices are not going to go back down. And when they do realize this, it will be too late. They will be in the danger zone, ladies and gentlemen. When they realize that they've been fooled, and when they realize the wool's been pulled over their eyes, that there's this transitory inflation that we've been told by the Federal Reserve now for I don't know how long. This is all temporary. Don't worry about it. You better start worrying about it, because you will be in the danger zone. Don't be reactive, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time to be proactive. Be proactive and be ready, because you do not want to wake up in the danger zone. Too many people are in la la land. They're watching cartoons. They're watching football games. They're not watching what they should be watching. They're not watching their futures, their pensions. They believe everything's okay. They're not watching reality. They're not watching what's really happening behind the scenes, like all of you are doing. And this is why you're going to preserve your wealth and protect your wealth. These people, they're in the system, okay? They're gambling, they're in the system, they're trusting the system. The same system that has created this entire mess, these people are buying into, and they are absolutely being fooled. The hedge today: container ship congestion at LA ports hits record high as more ships join. Friday, there were 55 ships moored or drifting offshore, waiting to be offloaded. It seems like every week or two, I read this article and the numbers just get bigger and bigger. And in the meantime, Fed members don't seem to be worried about anything, especially inflation. As this inflation eats away at your wages, your paycheck, your savings account, and the average Joe, the average Jane has no idea. Nobody is worrying about what's happening, and nobody is worrying about what is happening on Main Street right now. And sooner or later, people are going to wake up, and as I said, it's going to be too late. And then it's the blame game. Whose fault is this? I'm going to blame my broker. I'm going to blame the president. I'm going to blame the politician. I'm going to blame my bank. I'm going to blame the 1%. It's too late. You are now in survival mode. It doesn't matter at this point whose fault it is. It's game over. You're in the danger zone. The finger pointing doesn't matter, because the question is now, can you survive? Can your family survive? And more than likely, if you're one of these people, if you're one of the masses watching football games, if you're one of the masses living in this fantasy bubble, you're not going to make it. You're going to be completely wiped out, and you're going to be a statistic of this collapse. And more than likely, you have a very good chance of going homeless with your family. New York City using $5.9 billion in federal relief funds to pay artists $5,000, give cash to cab drivers, and encourage outdoor dining. So this is where the money's going, $5.9 billion. So instead of reopening New York City seems to be hell-bent on keeping its workers and businesses on the government stimulus dole. It's just amazing that we don't want people to go back to work. We'd rather just keep everybody at home on the dole. This is like a slave, right? Just give people enough to stay at home so they don't get angry and they don't have an uprising, right? So this is how they treat slaves. Just feed them enough, give them enough so that they don't revolt. The money will never go where it needs to go. The damage in New York, the vacancies, the damage is done. New York will suffer continued declines in revenue probably forever. And it's really, really sad. Never been there, but I heard it was once a great city, once a beautiful city. Being from Chicago and now seeing how Chicago has fallen, a once beautiful, historic sports town, great food, great art galleries, museums. The city has fallen, and it's so sad, and now New York is falling also. So last article of the day coming from The Hedge, and it's titled, Physical Demand Will Completely Overwhelm Supply and How Silver Could Wind Up Over $270. If you get a few minutes, check the article out on The Hedge. Andy Schectman says this, I think China's plan is to back their new digital currency with gold. He says, I think they will back the new digital yuan in a non-convertible fashion. I don't think you will be able to trade a digital yuan for a piece of physical gold, but I do believe gold backing is a high probability. China right now does sell gold-backed yuan bonds that can be converted into physical gold right now. So is China going to beat America to the game? Are they going to back a digital currency with gold? I don't know. But if America isn't careful, if America doesn't wake up quick, this is going to be very, very valuable. And unfortunately, I think that we are going to pass the baton to China. I think China is going to be the next world superpower. I think they already are. And I think the world is going to follow China, especially if they go to a gold-backed currency. And if they do that, the price of this stuff, silver, it's going to skyrocket. The price of gold, going to skyrocket. The world wants real money, ladies and gentlemen. They're done with paper. They're done with the manipulation, all of the criminality that we have committed with this paper monopoly money we call the U.S. dollar, and having the world reserve currency, starting wars all over the world, being the world police, trillions and trillions of printed money. Why does it take two people just to support a household now instead of one? Because of the printing press, because we've been printing money out of thin air for decades. We've abused this privilege. And now I think that we're going to pay a price here. And I think the average American, while they're playing Xbox and watching cartoons and watching football games, they're going to find out that their Social Security's been wiped out, that their pensions have been wiped out, and they're going to find out one day that the stock market, their stocks and their investments are going to be wiped out. So be very cautious out there. And one last reminder, watch this housing market coming into 2022. I have a very sneaky suspicion that we're going to start seeing some real corrections in the housing market. This housing bubble is going to burst, ladies and gentlemen. And when it does, all hell will break loose in this economy. God bless you all. Have a safe weekend. And I look forward to talking with all of you very, very soon.